Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to World of Thrills for another video. This is going to be another walkthrough video tour, and it's going to be a bit of a revised walkthrough video tour because we are revisiting Busch Gardens Tampa in Tampa, Florida. I've already done a walkthrough video of this park on this channel. That was actually the first walkthrough video I ever did. By the way, if you like these selfie style intro of the walkthrough videos, please let me know down in the comments what you think. But yeah, we are back at Busch Gardens Tampa for another walkthrough video. There have been a few new additions, as well as a few attractions have left since we last did our other walkthrough video. So I'm going to cover all that stuff, as well as the other attractions. This park has a total of 9 roller coasters, a couple of great floating flat rides, and a bunch of family attractions, and of course all the animals. We'll get to all that stuff and the new attractions in just a little bit. But first things first, of course, we got to start with how you get to this park and where the park's located. So here I am traveling northbound on I-75. For this video, we'll be looking for 265, and that will get you onto Fowler Avenue towards Temple Terrace. You could also use the exit prior, which would be exit 261. That would actually be the exit you'd use to go to Orlando. But of course, instead of going to Orlando, you'll go towards Tampa and then follow the instructions from there. For this video, we're going to stick to the route I'm showing you in this one. So right now we are on Fowler Avenue, and you're going to be on this road for about 4.5 miles, and you're going to be looking for McKinley Drive. You'll actually see a sign for Busch Gardens. As you get a little closer to McKinley, you'll come to one final traffic light, and you'll make a left-hand turn, and you're now on McKinley Drive. Regardless of the route you're coming from, this is the road you're going to be looking for when coming to Busch Gardens Tampa, because this is the only road that will get you into the parking lot. As you get closer to the park, you'll see the Busch Gardens signs, and then you'll just proceed a little bit further forward and then make a left turn into the parking lot. All right, and now that you've made your turn, you'll just go through the parking booths, and then you'll be back in the parking lot. And I will let my friend Cody take it away from here. And that's how you'll end up right back in this spot. So where we are right now is actually the preferred parking lot. You can see Iron Gwazi, there's Falcon's Fury, that's Montu. You can see Chiahan a little bit off to the side over there as well. If you are wondering where the general lot is, well, this park has a bit of an interesting parking lot setup. The general lot is actually located on the other side of McKinley, which was the road we were just traveling on to get into Busch Gardens Tampa. So the general lot is located on the other side of the street. If you're wondering how you get to the preferred lot, well, you'll follow the blue line that is on the ground, and then you'll go underneath a bridge through a tunnel, and then that's how you end up on the other side of McKinley, and then you'll end up on the preferred lot. This park does have a tram service if you do have to park in the general lot, or you can choose to walk. Now, keep in mind, walking will take you probably a good 20, maybe 10, like 15 to 20 minutes to walk up here. You'll get some great views of like Montu and some of the other attractions, but yeah, if you do park in the general lot, it's generally recommended that you do take the tram, so you don't have to endure that walk, but the walk is there for your secondary option. Now, obviously, if you park in the preferred lot, you don't necessarily have an option for a tram because there are no tram stops here in the preferred lot. But of course, if you do park in the preferred lot, then you're much closer than you would be in the general lot. So let's go ahead and fast forward to the front, and we'll begin the walkthrough from there. All right, here we are. You can see where we are right now. This is actually the tail end of the pathway that you'd use to walk from the general lot to the main entrance. And over there, you can see the tram stop where you'll get dropped off if you take the tram. So both options are good, and it just comes down to personal preference and which one you'd want to do over the other. So let's go ahead and walk up to the front, and you can see what it looks like from here. You just have your ticket windows on the left and right hand side, and if you already have your tickets, you'll go forward into the park. So real quickly before we enter the park, I just want to point out these real quickly. We have these ride height check stations, so if you want to check your kids' heights before you enter the park, you can go and do so here. And with that, let's enter Busch Gardens. And here we are officially inside of Busch Gardens Tampa. You can see what the entry plaza looks like. Very nice looking buildings, very nice architecture on the buildings, and you can see just what it looks like. Unfortunately, this entryway is a little narrow. There is really only one way to go from here, and it's going to be straight forward, then turning right, and then that's when the pathway will split open a little bit. We'll get to that in just a second, but first things first, I wanted to come over here and point out something very important that can help you out throughout your visit. They have a lot of these poster boards with the park's map posted on them. So if you ever get lost, you can consolidate one of these maps and help you find your way around. I figured you can pause the video and take a screenshot of it to help you out if you are planning a trip down to Busch Gardens Tampa, because this park's layout can be pretty confusing for first-timers. There is guest relations, and the building next to that is a set of restrooms, and the building across from that is the Emporium. That is the basically main gift shop of Busch Gardens Tampa. It's very large. You can find all sorts of Busch Gardens merchandise in there. Across from that is a Build-A-Bear workshop. And then from here you can go one of two ways around this other gift shop right in the center. We're going to go this way to the left. Either way you go, it kind of serves the same purpose. But if you go through the arches here, you have more options on which ways you'd like to go. Once you pass the archways, you're going to be greeted with the Zagora Cafe, and the coaster towering above is Iron Gwazi. If you go straight ahead, all it serves is really leading you up to Zagora and really nothing else. Zagora is the first big eatery you'll encounter when entering Busch Gardens Tampa. If you go to the right, it can take you over to rides like Cheetah Hunt, Cobra Skirts, and Montu, and it can also lead you back to Nairobi and the Pantopia sections. So if you want to go that way, you can go to the right to start off. But we're going to go to the left to start off and head towards Iron Gwazi and Stanleyville. The building we just passed was Moroccan Delights. That is an ice cream building where you can get all sorts of ice cream creations and sweet treats. There's a set of lockers right here. These are bigger lockers designed for any bigger items that you can't fit into the ride lockers, which I will talk about those in just a bit. But if you have any bigger items, I recommend you leave them in these lockers that you can go back and forth between throughout the day. Tucked behind the lockers is the first aid area we will run into on this journey. There is another one back in Pantopia, and there's also one next to Cheetah Hunt as well. So you have a few options if you ever need first aid. And we will now proceed forward and get to talk about my favorite attraction in the park. This is the main reason a lot of people come to Busch Gardens Tampa. This is Iron Gwazi. This is a Rocky Mountain construction hyper hybrid roller coaster. Stands 206 feet in the air and drops to 206 feet. You can see the train right there about to go down the first drop, so let's watch. This ride goes 206 feet in the air, drops you at 260 feet or 206 feet, not 260, at a 91-degree angle. You go through two different inversions, going through 4,075 feet of track, and you travel at a max speed of 76 miles per hour. It is a very exciting, very awesome ride. One that I recommend that you check out if you come here. For those who are interested, this used to be where the old Gwazi dueling GCI wooden roller coasters used to be. This used to be known just as Gwazi and was a dueling GCI pair of dueling GCI wooden roller coasters that closed in 2015, and it sat silent basically for a while. No one really knew what they were going to do with it until they announced that Iron Gwazi was going to be built. This ride was supposed to open in 2020, but due to the COVID pandemic and then incidents that followed, the opening date got pushed back more and more, and then it eventually opened finally on March 11th, 2022. And it is an amazing ride, as you can see with the line of people coming here. But there is one significant detail we must point out about Iron Gwazi, because it is what separates this ride from the rest of the rides. So I mentioned how rides here mostly require lockers, and this one is definitely no exception. You can see there, all guests must pass through an electric security system before entering this attraction. So what that means is that, yes, you must pass through a metal detector to ride Iron Gwazi. Why? Because you have way too many irresponsible people out there that have ruined it for everybody else. Anyway, yes, you must pass through a metal detector to ride Iron Gwazi. Unfortunately, the lockers are not free. It is $4 for a single-use locker, or they do offer a transferable locker system where you pay one price of $12 and you can move your locker around all day. So I do recommend the transferable locker, especially if you're staying here for a longer period of time. But yes, you will have to pay for a locker to ride, but please do not let that deter you from riding it. I know there are a lot of people who do not like having to pay the extra money, which I completely understand, but for Iron Gwazi and how amazing that ride is, it is definitely worth it. It is one of the best rides in the country and one of the best rides in the world as well. So I recommend it greatly. The ride next door to it is a cute little kid attraction. It is Gwazi Gliders. Gwazi Gliders is a mainly kid-friendly attraction. Adults are not allowed to ride on it. It has a maximum height limit of 56 inches, so adults cannot ride on that attraction with their young kids. We just passed by a couple games, and the structure on the right is the entrance to the festival walkway, which can lead you down into the festival field, which is where you have the stage where you have live performers that come every so often for the Food and Wine Festival, which is what the park was getting ready for. On the left side is the Excursions gift shop, and next to that is another set of restrooms. Now here you can see the barricades. So this was filmed fairly early on in the day. Busch Gardens is one of those parks that opens kind of in segments. So on the website and the app, it shows that it opens at 10 normally. It's a little bit deceiving because the only part of the park that you're allowed to be in at 10 o'clock is basically just the front. So you'll be able to do Iron Gwazi, Cheetah Hunt, Cobra Skirts, and Montu, but you would not be able to get back to the Stanleyville, Pantopia, Jungala, or Congo areas until 10:30. That's their usual setup. It is a little bit unfortunate they have it that way because they don't really say on their app or website whether that's a thing or not. So people, I'm sure, come here all the time and they get confused as to why, the park opens at 10, but some parts open at 10:30. It's just the thing they do here. So just keep that in mind when you visit Busch Gardens Tampa. If you come here right at opening at 10 o'clock, you'll basically have the front 4 coasters available, and everything else will become available at 10:30. So just keep that in mind when you come and visit this park. And this next area we're going to be entering doesn't really have many rides. Just has a bunch of beautiful scenery, natural beauty, which is something that all the SeaWorld and Busch Gardens parks share. They all look amazing when you're walking around. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're not even in an actual amusement park. And one of the things that makes Busch Gardens unique is I call it basically a half amusement park and half zoo. And the reason is because there's a whole bunch of animals scattered throughout. This is the first encounter that you'll run into when you go this way. So that's the Kangaloom, tucked back away there on the left. It is an interactive kangaroo attraction where you can basically get some food and you can walk out onto a little wooden walkway that takes you right in the center, right between some kangaroos, and they are super adorable. I have had the opportunity of doing it, and it is really fun. One of the many interactive animal attractions that the park has, and it is really, really cool. Then you have some flamingos up here. The animals and the roller coasters are why I highly recommend this park for families, because it is a perfect blend of both worlds. You have an amusement park, and then you have a zoo. And they do a very good job of scattering the animals throughout the whole park, so you're not stuck in one spot, which is really nice. We'll talk more about that in just a second, because right now I want to point this out really quickly, because I think this is a really nice touch. This is just a little area devoted to our armed forces. So if we have anyone out there that's watching this that has served or is currently serving, you are appreciated, and we thank you for your service. But going back to what I was saying, yeah, this park is a very good family park. If you have thrill seekers in your family that love rides, they can go off and do the rides, and if you have people that don't really do the rides, they can go off and see the animals. And there are so many animal things to do here. You have all the interactive animal encounters, and then you have some really cool experiences you can buy, which we will talk about later on. They have what is called the Safari Tour, and we will get to that when we get over to Nairobi. There's a Dippin' Dots stand. Again, the whole area we just walked through doesn't really have any rides. It is just a nice area to walk through. It gets you away from the rides. It's very quiet, which is always appreciated when you're around super loud rides. But the next area we will be coming up to is actually the main kids area of the park. This is Sesame Street Safari of Fun, and as you'd expect, it is an entire kids area devoted to the Sesame Street characters. There's a whole bunch of rides scattered around. You got some shows. There's like story time with Elmo, and all other, like different character meet and greets and all sorts of Sesame Street fun. So, really nice area. And the one reason for us and coaster enthusiasts who want to come here is because of this right here. There is a roller coaster back here. This is Eric Grover. It's a Zero family coaster. Not very exciting for us thrill seekers, but it is a nice beginning roller coaster for the young kids. A nice way to introduce them to roller coasters. And the entrance for the attraction is just up ahead here on the right. And there's the entrance for Eric Grover. Little funny picture of Elmo on the left. The big red and blue coaster you see in the distance, that is SeaWorld. We will talk about that ride later on. If you go to the pathway on the right, straight ahead there, it leads to a splash pad, and there's a little picnic area too. And so we'll go down this way, and we'll find some more rides. I'm not entirely sure what the height restrictions are on these rides. I imagine a lot of them do have a maximum height limit, much like the Gwazi gliders over by Iron Gwazi. So just be aware that a lot of these attractions you may not be able to do with your kids. But of course, it is always helpful to ask an employee when you come here to make sure to see like which rides you're able to do and which ones you're not able to do. And this area, again, is just a nice big old family area devoted to kids. This is probably one of the main areas you'll spend most time in if you have young kids. This is the biggest kids section of the park. They do have a few other kid rides scattered throughout the park, so it's not the only section you'll be stuck in, but it is probably the area you will be spending most time in. Do keep in mind that this area does tend to close early, usually before the rest of the park does. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it'll close like an hour before the park closes. So like if the park closes at 9, this area may close at like 8 or early, depending on when they close. Because kid areas typically don't stay open too late. That guy was telling me that the area wasn't open, even though we walked in and it said the area opened at 10:30, which it was past 10:30 when I recorded this walkthrough. So I don't know why you would say it was not open yet. He said it didn't open until 11, and so I mean, one, you had the sign that said it would open at 10:30, which was wrong. And if it really wasn't supposed to be open, then he didn't really do a good job of marking it off as closed. So it is what it is, but for our sake in this video, we at least got the walkthrough portion of it out of the way. So we'll just continue on. And again, just a whole area with not very many rides. Just another long, quiet pathway with trees and bushes on both sides. Very nice looking pathway. But now we are talking about our next interactive animal attraction. This is Lorry Landing, another area where you can buy some food. Instead of feeding kangaroos, you're feeding birds. These birds can land on you. They can land on your fingers, your shoulders. And you basically have a cup of food, and they can eat right from your hand, which is really adorable. I have not had the opportunity of doing it, but I've seen plenty of people on videos and pictures of it, and it looks really fun. And there's another look at SeaWorld, and it's about to go down its first drop, so why don't we pause and watch it go down its first drop real quick. There it goes. SeaWorld is a B&M dive coaster. If you have seen those rides before, then you know exactly what they do. They take you up super high, they hang you over the drop for a few seconds, and then it drops you at a 90-degree angle. If you've done rides like Valraven, Griffin, Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland, and the many others that are out there, then you know exactly what to expect. This one in particular was the first one to come to the U.S. This was the first dive coaster to be received by a park in the United States. This ride opened in 2005, and while it's not the most exciting ride ever, it only has one inversion and not a super interesting layout after the first drop. It is a very fun ride and one I recommend you check out when you come here. Just do note that it does get one of the longer rides in the whole park. This, like SeaWorld, Iron Gwazi, Cheetah Hunt, and Cobra's Curse, can easily get some of the longest lines in the park. So be sure you hit those early if you when you come to this park and it's busy. From here, we have a couple options to get down the Stanleyville. If you are unable to do the steps to the right, you'll go down the ramp on the left-hand side. And real quickly before we head down into Stanleyville, I want to point these out. Much like the signs with the park map on it, you have these little directional poles scattered throughout the park as well to help you find your way. So again, another tool that you can use to help you find your way around. This park's layout, again, is kind of confusing. There's times where you're going up and downhill, and you're going through different nooks and crannies that can be difficult to find if you're not familiar with them. And now that we're in Stanleyville, you're going to have a couple ways to go here. If you go to the left, that will take you through the Zambia Smokehouse, which is the big barbecue eatery, and then that can also take you over to Tigris, which is that big orange coaster you see in the distance. We're going to go to the right and talk about our next two attractions from here. The first of which is going to be through this building. This is the one of 3 train stations for the Serengeti Express. This is the Stanleyville station. You have a station over in Nairobi, and as well as a station in Congo, in the Congo area, next to Kumba. So this is one of the spots you can board the train in. Again, the park had just kind of opened, so not a whole lot of action going on for the train right now. And the area over here is the splashdown zone for SeaWorld. This ride does feature a splash zone. If you stand right there where I pointed, you will get seriously wet on this ride, which on a hot summer Florida day will feel fantastic. And there's another great view of SeaWorld. This is one of the more picturesque rides of Busch Gardens Tampa. You can get super close with this ride. You can stay basically right underneath the drop as a train goes down it, and you get some seriously good views of this ride, and it's really cool to photograph. Again, it's not a super exciting ride, at least in my opinion, but it is one that I recommend you check out when you come here. It is a very popular attraction. As you can see with the people that are lined up in front of me, they are in fact waiting to ride SeaWorld. Again, this was filmed right around opening time for this area, so the rides maybe just weren't quite open yet. Some of them were not open at all today, which is unfortunate. But yeah, a lot of the rides were either not open or haven't opened yet. So that's why you're going to see a lot of people just kind of standing around and not doing a whole lot of riding. That's why we weren't able to get a whole lot of footage of the attractions in this video, because they just simply weren't open. But you can see the line of people waiting to ride SeaWorld. There's the entrance for SeaWorld. Next to that is a gift shop, And then tucked way back here is going to be the lockers for SeaWorld, because SeaWorld does require that you get lockers for your bags. And then way back there is a set of restrooms. And now over here is one of the main changes of Busch Gardens Tampa, and it's an unfortunate change. This is the former home of the Stanley Falls Flume. That roof, the yellow roof, was the old queue area, and the exit for the attraction was just down there. This ride closed just last year in 2025. I actually was able to attend its last day, and we got some cool wristbands for being some of the last riders. You can see the sign right there. New adventure coming soon. What that new adventure is, we are not sure. We will just have to wait and see what they announce. Hopefully something good. But yeah, when that ride closed, it was fairly sad. But it was a nice turnout with everyone that came out for its last day. Over here, you're going to find this entrance for the Stanleyville Theater, where they have different shows going on throughout the year. And now over here is where you're going to find, basically there's an area devoted to tigers. There's the lockers for tigers. It's another ride that requires you to get a locker. If you go down that pathway on the left, that'll take you back through the Zambia Smokehouse and to the other side of Stanleyville, where we were just at. There you can see the Tigers ride entrance. The exit is on the right next to it. And fun fact, this actually was my 100th roller coaster, which is kind of cool. And, Tigers is just a Skyrocket 2. If you've done rides like this before, you have Tempesto, there's Superman Ultimate Flight at Discovery Kingdom, and many more out there. So if you've done rides like these, they aren't super long rides, but in my opinion, they're pretty fun. And real quickly, here's another map right next to Tigers. Yeah, Tigers, if you've done them before, it's you do a swing launch, and then you launch all the way up to the top, go through the inline twist at the very top, very slow roll. Tigers has a fortunate significance about it, because they just removed their comfort collars not too long ago on it, so now it is a much more comfortable experience. So hopefully the other parks that have Skyrocket 2s take notes and they remove the comfort collars, because newsflash, you don't need them. And now here I was trying to find a good spot to show you the what it looks like on the other side of the work walls, because these work walls are very extensive and very tall, and I'm not a very tall person, so I was just trying to see if I could find a spot where I could show you what's going on. Obviously, there's not really a whole lot to show you, but I thought I'd show you anyway. Over here is going to be one of the entrances for the Sky Ride. The Sky Ride has two different stations. You have the one right here in Stanleyville, and then there's one next to Cheetah Hunt. Real quickly, actually managed to find this spot that I could show you, and yeah, not a whole lot going on there. Just see just a pile of dirt waiting for whatever's gonna take its spot. If you notice, also there's one other ride that's not there anymore that used to be there. We will talk about that later on. Yeah, going back to the Sky Ride, it is a very nice, very quiet experience. Gets you some great views. Unfortunately, it is kind of an upcharge attraction if you're not a pass member or someone with a fun card. If you are not a pass member or have a fun card, you will have to pay $5 each person to experience the Sky Ride. So that is a very unfortunate change that they made when the ride reopened after it was down for a longer period of time, and they've kept it ever since. So I don't know if they plan on changing it, but that remains to be seen. But if you're willing to pay the money for a Sky Ride, a ride on the Sky Ride, then make sure you do it. It's recommended. Do we see any tigers? No. Fortunately, no. We are now going to be entering the Jungala section. This is where you can find some orangutan, the tiger exhibit, and a few other notable attractions. The orangutan overlook is on the left-hand side through that building right there. And then over here, you're going to find a couple of the newest additions to Busch Gardens Tampa. That's the Toma Cafe. You can get some empanadas and other delights. And then you have right next to it the newest family section of the park. This is Wild Oasis. It's basically a revitalization of the old Jungala section. It used to not be so nice, and now they have basically revived it and given it new life. They have brought back the old drop tower. They have renamed it Treetop Drop, and they have redone the play structures, and they've also added a couple other animals back here. You can see capybaras and giant anteaters. So a very nice thing they did here. Again, another area devoted for families and kids, but it's much needed since you have so many thrill rides and roller coasters around the park. So it's nice that they have a couple areas devoted to the kids. Now, walking back out of there, obviously if you go to the right, that would take you back into Stanleyville. So we are going to continue to the left and head towards the Congo section. There is a Chick-fil-A on the left. It's pretty much the only branded restaurant here in Busch Gardens. There's a Tiger-themed gift shop. Right across from that is a set of restrooms down that pathway there. And over here on the left-hand side would normally be an area, a way to get over to the Congo River Rapids. But unfortunately, it was not open on this day, so we cannot go down that bridge. But Congo River Rapids is just your typical river raft ride. It gets you pretty wet, as a pretty iconic ride, but it's also unfortunate because we would also be able to get over to Kumba from that way, so we have to now walk all the way to the other side by Kumba to get over there. So we'll do that now, and we're going to pass by a couple other attractions that have been also revived. So if you remember when Sand Serpent was removed a while back, they also took out Bush Flyers and the small train ride you see there. And people weren't sure what they were going to do with it, but eventually they found a new spot. They announced that they were going to bring it back to life, and they now have a new home right next to Bumper Cars, and that is a really, really nice thing they did. Because when they took those out, then it really felt like they were lacking in the kid ride department, but they brought them back, and it is really nice that they did that. Now, for Busch Gardens' most hidden roller coasters, because it seems like no matter what time of day or when you come here, it seems like Kumba almost always never has a long line. And that's because it is tucked way back here, kind of hidden off the pathway. The only way you can really tell, the main way you can tell that there's a ride back here is because of how loud Kumba is. If you've been to Busch Gardens before and you've had Kumba operating, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The roar on Kumba can be heard from honestly just about anywhere in the park. It is super loud, but super iconic. People know that sound for miles. Unfortunately, though, looking ahead, it looks like we will not be able to take you over to the Kumba area because it is down for maintenance. It did suffer from a pretty significant maintenance issue with the track, so unfortunately Kumba is down, just like its next door neighbor Congo River Rapids. So we will not be able to show you the entrance for Kumba, but it is just on the other side of the bridge, up some stairs, and in the entrance of the ride. There is also a pathway that you would use to get over to the Congo River Rapids ride. So they've done a really good job of connecting those two rides, so you don't have to circle back every time between the two rides. But yeah, unfortunately, we will not be able to show you that pathway since both rides are closed. And down to the left is the entrance for the Congo train station. Unfortunately, that was also closed. I feel like that train station is not all that often used. I feel like it's only on rare cases that train station is open. The Nairobi train station is the main one, so that's one they're obviously going to have open always. And then if they have another station to use, they'll use the Stanleyville station before they would use the Congo one. So I think that's only open on rare occasions. But we are now going to be heading down this ramp and into the Pantopia section. This is kind of the biggest area of Busch Gardens. This is where you'll find three different attractions and one very empty plot of land that used to house a former roller coaster, which we will talk about in just a second. And once you turn, you are now in Pantopia. There is a little drink stand on the left-hand side there. On the right side is Tot-topia, where you can get a whole bunch of loaded tater tots. Next to that is a whole bunch of games. In front of us, underneath that kind of purplish roof, is the park's carousel. And then way on the left there is the park's newest roller coaster, Phoenix Rising. This was the ride that replaced the old Sand Serpent roller coaster and took the former spots of Busch Flyers and the other kid attractions that were in that spot as well. So they took out Sand Serpent and those other rides, and that's what gave birth to Phoenix Rising. Phoenix Rising is a B&M family invert. It is now one of 3 family inverts in the United States. You have this one, Big Bad Wolf over at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and then you have Barracuda Strike, which just opened this year over at SeaWorld San Antonio. So these rides are starting to pop up kind of all over the place. It's mainly just been the SeaWorld parks, but you now have 3 of them in the United States. And there goes Phoenix Rising right over the entrance. It is a fairly enjoyable ride. I call it a baby Montu, basically. It's actually fairly forceful for being a little invert. Do note, though, that the train does kind of shake throughout the ride, which is kind of unfortunate since it's only like a 2-year-old ride, and the 30-year-old invert Montu is much smoother, which is kind of funny. But if you're in the area and you are looking for a fairly unique experience, then Phoenix Rising is there for you. Do note that it does only run one train just because of the nature of the attraction. It is not a super long ride at all, so it can only run one train, so just keep that in mind. This is Twisted Tales. There's not too many food items here at Busch Gardens I recommend, but if you want some pretty good pretzels, they also have like pretzel dogs and like cinnamon sugar pretzels. You can find those at Twisted Tales. Now, for the other iconic ride in the park, arguably the most iconic ride of Busch Gardens Tampa, it is this ride right in front of me that unfortunately was also closed at the time of this recording. It has been undergoing some improvements. You can see the restraints are not on the vehicles. But this is Falcon's Fury. This is the park's drop tower, and it's the iconic drop tower that tilts you at the very top. It stands 330 feet in the air, and when you get near the top, it will tilt you, tip your seat, so you are basically forced to face the ground at well over 300 feet in the air. And it is an insane ride, one that I love so much. It is currently my favorite drop tower in the entire world, and I'm super glad it's here and super bummed whenever it's closed. So hopefully they can figure out what's wrong with it or get the stuff they need, and they can get that ride back open so that we can experience it again. And if you are in the area, if you are at Busch Gardens and that ride is open, definitely make sure you get on it. It is just one of those rides that if it is open, make sure you take advantage of it and get on that ride, because you never know when it could go down again. Now for the next sad area of Busch Gardens. If you are familiar with this area, this is where the old Schwarzkopf coaster used to be. This is where Scorpion used to sit. I did attend Scorpion's last day. It was a bittersweet end because they had weather plaguing the day all day, and it basically prohibited us from getting on one more ride because the ride shut down for weather, and they didn't reopen it for the rest of the day, which was very, very unfortunate. But you just saw where the old ride sign used to be, and through that the blue building is the old entrance. There's another first aid location. So another area of interest. We don't know what they're planning to do, or if they're going to use both the Stanley Falls Flume spot and then the Scorpion Power Land to build something huge, but again, that all remains to be seen. This is the biggest eatery of Busch Gardens. That is the Dragonfire Grill. You have like a burger stand, pizza stand, and like chicken tenders. So it's kind of like the biggest eatery of Busch Gardens, and it's nice and indoors. So if you want to escape the Florida heat, I recommend checking out Dragonfire Grill. There's the entrance for Falcon's Fury. There's the test seat, and you can see right behind the test seat is another map. So again, another map that could be used to help you navigate your way around the park. And right next to Falcon's Fury, you saw Rita's, which is actually my favorite food item in Busch Gardens Tampa. The Italian ice with the soft serve ice cream is recommended. Painted Camel was the gift shop you saw there just a second ago. That is another area another shop where you can find some decent Busch Gardens merchandise, and it also serves as the exit for Phoenix Rise. We are now going to be entering the Nairobi section of Busch Gardens Tampa. Again, not an area with a whole bunch of rides, but there are a couple of notable attractions in here, and this is also the area we will go to book your safari tours, which we will talk about in just a second. Up ahead here on the left is going to be an elephant exhibit. Now, if you happen to come here when the park is super busy, because Busch Gardens can get very busy very quickly, there are ways to combat the crowds. You can, number one, get a quick queue. They have 3 different options. There are Quick Queue Unlimited, Quick Queue Unlimited Plus. Now, Quick Queue Unlimited Plus is the one you're going to want to get, because that's the one that will include all the attractions. If you get Quick Queue Unlimited or just general Quick Queue, those include all the other attractions except Iron Gwazi and Phoenix Rising. So if you want to do all the attractions, make sure you get that Quick Queue Unlimited Plus option so that you can skip the line at all the rides. Of course, do note that the prices for these Quick Queue passes will vary depending on when you visit and what day. So if you come and it's a very dead Monday, it may only be maybe $50. But if you come on a very busy Saturday or during a holiday or like a spring break on a Saturday, then it's going to be a very expensive ticket, a very expensive pass, at least $100 for the Unlimited Plus. So do take note of that. It will cost you a decent amount of money for the skip the line passes. They do also have some other ways you can do it. They offer an elite VIP tour where you're basically follow this tour guide around, and they bring you up the ride's exits, and you can skip the line that way. But those VIP tours are fairly expensive. I think at least a couple $100 per person. So again, if you're willing to do that, then they're there. But I would recommend just probably getting the Quick Queue Pass, since it's not quite as expensive. Now over here is our next attraction. You can see that it's also closed, so we cannot do it. But this is Serengeti Flyer. It is a SNS Scream and Swing. It is the second tallest in the world. Fun fact, because the Scream and Swing that just got put over at Hershey Park, I just took the record from it there. This one still stands at an impressive 135 feet and is a very fun ride. There you can see Cheetah Hunt going. Wait one moment, and there it is. So yeah, Serengeti Flyer, it's not my favorite attraction. I'm not really too much of a fan of these SNS Scream and Swings, but they are super fun. It's main thing for me is just that their ride cycles are typically pretty short. They don't really last too long. But it does serve as a nice complement for Falcon's Fury, because for a while, Falcon's Fury was the only main thrill ride for Busch Gardens Tampa. And so when they opened Serengeti Flyer in 2023, it filled that gap of complementing Falcon's Fury and giving Busch Gardens that second big thrill ride that they very much needed. So, not my favorite, but I'm definitely glad it's here. And the area on the left is just another area where you could view some more animals, some impalas, some other herbivore-like creatures. And then on the right-hand side is the area where you will be able to either check in for your safari tour, or you can book it here. That area is where you can get your safari tour, where you'll have the ability to ride out on a safari truck, and you can feed the animals out on the Serengeti Plain. You have giraffes out there, rhinos, zebras, and all sorts of animals out there. And I don't think the safari tours are super expensive, so if that interests you, you can purchase them there. Now from here, you have a couple ways you can go. You can go that way and go back towards the Morocco and front of the park areas. That can also get you to the other side of the Nairobi train station, which is where you need to go if you want to ride that attraction. Or you can go over here into the Edge of Africa section. So we're going to go this way, because if you did go straight and to Morocco, you would miss two entirely different sections of the park, and you'd miss 3 significant rides. So we're going to go down this way towards the Edge of Africa section. And up here is the area where you will board onto those safari trucks, and then be taken out into the Serengeti Plain. So you can see the group of people right there waiting to go out into the Serengeti Plain to feed the giraffes and see all the animals from there. So again, like I said earlier, this park does a really good job of blending both thrill rides and zoo. So again, a very, very good park for the families. If you have members of your family who want to do the rides, they can go off and do the rides. If you want to go see the animals, and if you have others who want to go see the animals, you can go see the animals. And there are plenty of animal attractions here and plenty of animals to see throughout the park. And again, they are scattered throughout the entire park, so you will be able to see the entirety of Busch Gardens Tampa just with seeing the animals. That is really nice. So now you can see the work wall is here on the left. That's because they are working on the lion and hyena areas. And normally we'd be able to continue on this pathway and go over towards Montu and Cobra's Curse. But because they are working here, they've been working on this area for quite some time, so I do not know when they will finish. But we will have to take a right and do a bit of a modified version of this pathway. But you will get to see a couple other animals up here. This is where you'll find the crocodile exhibit and the hippo exhibit. So we'll see that in just a second. Well, it looks like the crocodile exhibit is getting some enhancements, so unfortunately there's no crocodile to see there. So hopefully the hippo exhibit will show us something. There's goes a look at the crocodile exhibit. And the big old glass with the water, that is where you'll find the hippos. And actually they were on the far right hand side of the glass, which I did not get a shot of. I apologize, but I just wanted to keep going with the walkthrough. And again, this is just another nice quiet area where you can see animals. There's no rides in this section. This is called the Edge of Africa section. It is just a long, narrow pathway to see some more animals. Again, it makes you feel like you're not even in an amusement park anymore, and just in just any other zoo. The building on the other side of the trees is the stations for Cheetah Hunt and the Sky Ride. Now we're going to come up to another intersection here, and there is another directional pole here as well. So again, if you are ever lost, please make sure you take a look at one of those poles or the map, and you will be able to find your way around. But from here, we can either go to the right and head over towards Cheetah Hunt, or we can go this way, and this can take us over to Montu and Cobra's Curse. So we're going to head this way, and we'll loop back around to Cheetah Hunt later on. This will take us to the other side of the hyena and lion exhibits. Again, we normally would be able to continue along that pathway, but since they are working, that pathway is blocked off, so we have to do this little detour first. So if we went to the left, that would normally take you back over to the other side of that lion hyena section and take you back over to Nairobi. But again, it is blocked off at the moment, so we cannot go that way. So we'll have to go this way instead. And we will get to talk about our next two roller coasters. The first of which is right in front of us. That is Cobra's Curse. It is signified by the giant cobra statue that you will come face to face with when you go up the lift hill on Cobra's Curse. It is an elevator lift hill, so it makes it very unique just right off the bat. It stands about 80 to 90 feet tall, and a very, very solid family attraction. It introduces the little kids to all sorts of forces of the ride on a very mild scale. It has a forward section, a backward section, and then a little spinning section as well. So it gives little kids a little taste of everything that a roller coaster has. It goes fairly fast, but not too fast, and it does pull some decent forces. With that being said, it is obviously very popular with families, and this ride, like I mentioned earlier, gets a very long line. This and Cheetah Hunt easily get two of the longest lines in the entire park, even more so than like Iron Gwazi or Shikra. And those rides get decent lines too. But these two rides, Cobra's Curse and Cheetah Hunt, they easily get two of the longest lines in the entire park. So if you are here for the first time and you're trying to ride as much as possible, make sure you come and ride Cobra's Curse and Cheetah Hunt early. Otherwise, you could be waiting at least an hour and a half sometimes, maybe even more, for those rides. Now, normally we'd be able to go down this pathway, and I can get you over to Montu. Unfortunately, it was suffering from some technical difficulties at the time of this recording, so we will not be able to go down that pathway any further. But you can see Montu right there. It is a B&M inverted coaster. It turns 30 years old in May of 2026. So it is a fairly old ride, but it is one of the best inverted roller coasters I've ever ridden. And it's my current favorite one that I've ever done. And it's definitely a recommended attraction that you do when you come to Busch Gardens Tampa. It's one of the first attractions you see when you pull up to the park. It's right up against McKinley Drive, and it is very, very cool. It got a repaint. They repainted its supports, so it looks nice, and it looks very nice with that dark blue and the yellow support. So definitely recommend checking it. And this pathway we just took will dump us right between the Cobra's Curse and Montu entrances. So there's the entrance for Montu. You would just go through that wall, and the entrance for Montu will be on the other side. But obviously, we can't go that way because it is currently closed. But a nice looking wall. Again, this is the Egypt section of Busch Gardens now. There's a bathroom on the left-hand side, and then the exit for Montu is to the right of it. And then we'll just go this way because we can't go that way. Serpent Snacks is another refresh area. You get some popcorn and drinks. Cobra's Crypt is the Cobra's Curse gift shop and serves as the ride exit. And the people you just heard cheering are happy because they just opened Cobra's Curse for the day. So that's why you see them all entering the line right now. And there's the entrance for Cobra's Curse. Again, this ride does get a very long line, so make sure you hit this early. As you can see with how long this line is, you'll definitely want to hit this early, especially if you come on a busier day. We are now going to head out of the Egypt section, and we will talk about our last roller coaster. That will be Cheetah Hunt. The other big eatery of Busch Gardens Tampa is the Serengeti Overlook. It has the building on the right side there. Inside you'll find the Oasis Pizza and the Giraffe Bar, or Giraffe Cafe. And there's also a bar inside as well. It does have a very nice overlook of the Serengeti, like the name suggests. So you can get yourself a meal, and then you can go out to the balcony and you can go and see some animals while you're eating, which is a really nice thing. And now for our last attraction we will be discussing. This is Cheetah Hunt. Cheetah Hunt is a multi-launch coaster by Intamin. There is the entrance for Cheetah Hunt. And as you can see, we can't really see it from the view, but the line currently was at a 120-minute wait. So 2 hours for Cheetah Hunt at the time of this recording. So like I said, Cheetah Hunt and Cobra's Curse get one of the longest lines. Cheetah Hunt is a very popular attraction in this park. Very popular with the families, so make sure you get to it early if you want to do it and if you come on a busy day. The area is just basically devoted to Cheetah Hunt. You have the Cheetah gift shop, the Cheetah ride entrance, and then on the right side you'll have the entrance for the Sky Ride, and then next to that is a set of restrooms and the other first aid area. So nice little area devoted to Cheetah Hunt. Cheetah Hunt again is not a super crazy ride. It's not meant to be a crazy ride. I would put this ride more in the category of a family thrill coaster. It's not meant to be something crazy. So if you go into this expecting it to be something like Maverick or Velocicoaster, you're going to be left disappointed. This is meant to be another stepping stone roller coaster for younger kids. Introduces them to faster speeds, a little bit higher height. You go a height of 130 feet. And it goes through. It does have one inversion, so it gives kids a nice little sense of like everything that a coaster does. But it's not meant to be some crazy experience like Maverick. So don't go in expecting a ride like Maverick. And naturally, with a ride themed to cheetahs, you have a cheetah exhibit right across from it. But unfortunately, much like a lot of things in this park at this time, it was going through enhancements. So you cannot see any cheetahs for this video. And we are now going to be heading back towards the Morocco area. That's the Moroccan Palace on the left side, where you have different shows play throughout the year. And you have another little intersection here. That is because if you took that pathway on the right, that would take you back to the Nairobi section, and then could get you back to Pantopia. But again, if you took that pathway, you'd be skipping Cheetah Hunt, Cobra Skirts, and Montu completely. So if those rides, if you want to do those rides, make sure you go down the pathway we just came from. And there's another directional pole with the different signs and arrows pointing you in the direction you want to go. So make sure, again, if you want to do a certain attraction, that you look at those poles and you follow the direction that they're telling you. Again, this park's layout is a little bit confusing, but you can help yourself out by, again, you looking at the maps that are scattered throughout the park, or you can look at those poles pointing you in the direction you want to go. So there are plenty of ways to help you out. Of course, you can use the app that has a map on it as well, and the website also has a map as well. So there are plenty of ways to help you find your way around. Last thing we'll be talking about is the alligator exhibit. Next to that was a gorilla encounter. If you wonder why this big old fence is in the way, it's because a while back there was a joker, I could say his name, but a joker, who had the brilliant idea of hopping over into the alligator exhibit. Yes, you heard that right. He hopped over into the alligator exhibit. I'm sure you could find, if you Googled it, you'd be able to look up the video, and that is why now there's a big old fence surrounding it. So don't be like that guy. Don't put yourself in a dangerous situation like that. It's not worth the views. But we are now back at the front of the park. We are on the other side of the Zagora Cafe. There is one more thing I want to show you before we wrap this video up, and that is the set of restrooms that are on the other side of the Zagora Cafe. They're kind of tucked away up against the alleyway here. There they are right there. And I wanted to show you what's going on with Zagora right now, because it is also going through some renovations. So this is the setup for Zagora Cafe right now. Right behind it would be the area you'd normally be able to order food, but right now, because they're working on it, you'd have to go all the way down to the left on the other side and pick up and order and pick up your food there. So there's the menu, and that is the current situation at Zagora. So a little bit of an interesting setup, but again, it's because they're working on it, so hopefully they can finish it soon so it can be itself again. There's another refresh stand, and then a Coaster Coffee, where they sell Starbucks. You can also get some funnel cakes inside of there. Adventure Photo is actually a building we saw in the beginning, but this is where you can find your photos for the rides that you have throughout the day. Back in there is a stroller and wheelchair rental. And we are now back at the front of the park. The building next to us is the building for the Emporium gift shop. And then on the right is the same little gift shop right in the center we saw in the beginning. So we are now back at the front of the park, which means our walkthrough video is coming to a close. So if you are in the Tampa area and you are looking for a great park with some great thrills and great animal exhibits, please stop by Busch Gardens Tampa in Tampa, Florida. It is only about a 20-minute drive from the downtown Tampa area, and only about a 15 to 20-minute drive from the Tampa International Airport. So it is very easily accessible, very easy to get to. I recommend you come out to check out Busch Gardens Tampa in Tampa, Florida. This has been Cody. This has been Cody with World of Thrills. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you at Busch Gardens Tampa soon. Take care.